really can't get away from unreliable vehicles, can I? But this time, I'm gonna step outside my comfort zone and maybe try something other than an Audi. This is my 2011 Mazdaspeed 3, and it has somehow survived 190,000 miles, and the body reflects that. It is rough, but it has good bones, and I bought this car for $3,000 from my wife. You may have seen this car in the background of several videos over the years. Well, my wife has owned it for the last 6 years, and over that time, I've had the pleasure of maintaining it. And I say pleasure because I really haven't had to fix anything besides routine maintenance, and I would probably credit that to her being the one driving it and not me. But regardless, it's a decent car and it's an absolute riot to drive. For some background, the Mazdaspeed 3 came with a 2.3 liter direct injected turbocharged 4-cylinder engine. Very similar to Ford's 2.3 liter direct injected turbocharged 4-cylinder engine. There are 2 generations of the Mazdaspeed 3. This one is the Gen 2, which came with a very controversial looking facelift, which not a lot of people are a fan of. I'm kind of on the fence. I don't think it's the best looking. And it also came with an updated interior, not necessarily an upgrade or an improvement, but different. I like to think of this car as sort of a prequel to the Focus ST and RS. Performance-wise, it kind of sits right in between them, but driving-wise, it's much more bare bones. Before Ford made those more refined, comfortable, fun, and successfully selling vehicles, they sort of had their rough draft with the help of Mazda making this car. And it very much feels like this was at the beginning of that sort of technology, of direct injection, all that, but it was a much more raw feeling car. There's really no sound deadening, it's pretty bare bones, there's no sunroof, and you feel everything in the road. But at the end of the day, it was a cheap economy performance car, so you got what you paid for, but you got a fun car that has some of the most aggressive torque steer ever. That is what these cars are known for, among other things. And it's pretty wild. This one in particular already has some upgrades. It's got a front-mount intercooler, intake, exhaust, EGR delete, I believe a high-pressure fuel pump upgrade, engine mounts, coilovers, Evo 10 wheels, and some upgraded tires that I did, and a custom tune from PD Tuning. Pair that with the very short gearing in this car, and it is always fun to drive. Which gives me an idea. What if this became my seat time autocross and track car? I've already got my B8 Audi A4 project car that you guys are probably familiar with, but that is the project car. And if you've ever had a project car, you know they're in a constant state of development. Oh boy. So it would be nice to have a car that I can just jump in and drive whenever I want. And with the state of the exterior of this car, it kind of gives me the okay to just kind of send it. I've tried this with a B6 A4 before, and I was always fixing that car, and it wasn't really that fun to drive in the first place, but at least this one is fun to drive. But before I get into any sort of racing or track environment, there are a few changes I need to make to this car. They're very minimal. For a 200,000 mile turbocharged Mazda, it's actually not bad. Really, the only thing that I need to upgrade are brakes. because this has just street brakes on it. The rotors themselves are actually pretty good because I just swapped rotors and pads pretty recently. But for racing, I'm going to use the same setup I have on my Track A4. Hawk HP Plus pads in the front and Hawk HPS 5.0s in the rear. This combination gives you a lot of bite up front, still a lot of bite in the rear, but more up front, so that really helps with braking around tight corners and can help rotate the car. I love this setup on my A4, so I'm gonna try it on this car and see how it goes. But aside from that, I obviously want to put high temp brake fluid in the car. I do this with any car I take on track. This is the absolute minimum of things you should be doing to get your car safe for track. So I don't normally talk about it because I figure it's just like something people know, but if you are considering putting your car on track, absolutely replace your brake fluid with high temp stuff. That is not something that you want to test. So just a PSA. I know some people have talked about it in the comments on my videos before. I always use high temp brake fluid on track. The first test is an autocross. I'm here at Jefferson Speedway here in Wisconsin for a local autocross, and I'm gonna put the car to the test. I've never autocrossed this car before, and today I'm competing against a couple of Focus STs, a Neon SRT4, and a new Civic Si. So basically front-wheel drive, turbocharged cars. And I would say the car itself is pretty competitive in that category. It weighs about the same as an ST, but it has more displacement and a larger turbo, but older technology. So it could do it. And with the upgraded brake pads and 200 tread wear tires and all the other modifications this thing came with when I got it, it's pretty much where I want it to be. So it could be competitive, but will it survive the day? Let's see. All right, second place in my class. I'll take it. I would say the car is competitive and it survived. And while it may be okay for autocross right now, that autocross did open my eyes to quite a few things that need to be changed on this before doing anything else with it. Mainly bushings. Suspension, the coilovers are like 10 years old, so likely they need to be rebuilt or just replaced, but around those, the bushings, especially up front, are noticeably bad. There's a bug on me. They shake under heavy braking, and a car shouldn't do that. It shook so much that it actually popped the car out of gear. So that's not something that I need to be worrying about while on track. So to fix that, I got some suspension stuff.
Starting at the rear of the car, I'm upgrading the puny stock sway bar to a solid white line sway bar with poly bushings, which should hopefully eliminate some of the suspension clunks I'm getting in the rear and improve the overall handling by getting rid of some of the understeer.
To get the sway bar off, it's pretty simple. There's just this end link here, and then there's one over here. I don't know if you can see that, right here. And if it was a new car, those would be easy to get off, but these look like they could maybe be a problem. I'm gonna hit them with some PB Blaster first. It also looks like, I was unaware that this has aftermarket end links on it. I'm gonna replace them anyway, just with some OEM units, because from what I've read, people are happiest with the OEM end links front and rear. So those are going to come off too. And I'm also going to do the rear upper control arms because there are a lot of manufacturers of adjustable uppers, which is pretty cool. 200,000 Wisconsin miles. Hell yeah. So here's something that's interesting. I'm still finding some things on this car that are 3 owners old. My wife owned this car for 5 years. Before that, her brother owned it for about 5 years. And I know pretty much everything that either of them have done to this car. But now, taking off this control arm, the driver's side has an adjustable SPC upper control arm, but the passenger side has a stock control arm. I don't know when that happened. I guess it doesn't hurt to have a spare adjustable control arm on hand, even if it is 10, 11 years old. But I'll put the new one on. All right.
The front of the car is a little more involved, so I had to borrow some tools from my place of work, JXB Performance. I purchased what is known as the anti-lift kit for the front lower control arms, which replaces the old worn rubber inner bushings with higher durometer poly bushings and repositions the front caster to minimize wheel hop and torque steer. It'll also just tighten up the whole front suspension in general. The reason I can't do this in my own garage is because these bushings, as well as my ball joints, need to be pressed out. In hindsight, I should have probably replaced the whole control arms as well, since these are looking kinda sad and showing quite a bit of rust at this point. I think when I put on some better coilovers in the future, I'll swap those out, along with the crusty rear lower arms.
How does it feel? Better. The steering is a lot more responsive. It feels less sloppy. The turn-in is just better. And I do notice less wheel hop and a little less torque steer when accelerating. The torque steer is still always going to be there for a little bit. I think that's just by nature of how the power is put down in this car. But overall, handling feels better. Coilovers still, they need to be replaced. The handling based on the rear sway bar, kind of hard to tell without doing things illegal on the street. Really, I'll only be able to tell if I take this thing on track. Which brings me here to Blackhawk Farms Raceway, right on the border of Wisconsin and Illinois. It's a pretty local track for me. I'm here for a Rev Match Track Days HPDE event. It's also Vintage Car Weekend, which is pretty cool to watch. But I'm here pretty much just to shake down all the things I just did to the car. I'm pretty optimistic. The engine's still in pretty good shape and some name brand modifications, a Pro Tune on the car. But I'd be lying if I said I wasn't a little nervous. I don't have the best history with cars running on track, and it's a Mazdaspeed. But let's get on the track, see how it does. Thank you. So first session on track, the car got hot, but I cooled it down as soon as I saw that, and hopefully nothing bad happened. I still have all my coolant, still have all my oil, so cross my fingers it still goes okay in the next one. So session 2 was pretty much similar to session 1. Started to get really hot, and it got to the point where I could do maybe like 1 flyer lap and then 2 cool down laps. So like all of the cars I've tracked, heat is an issue. If this is the original 191,000 mile radiator, it could be time for a new one. That might be in my future, but I think the main problem here is the hood scoop here, because when you don't have an intercooler up top, you're no longer feeding cold air into your charge piping. You are basically just feeding really high pressure air into your engine bay, which makes everything hot. So I tried putting tape on here for my second session, and it started to peel off on track, and I don't want that to be debris on the track, somebody else to have a problem with it. So stopped using that, and I didn't see too much of a difference. Also, it's missing the under tray, the splash shield, and I know that that helps a lot with channeling air in the correct direction. So just a few minor things to change on here. All right, the car survived. There was some drama with cooling, but honestly, it could have been a lot worse. And when you take a 15-year-old car with a bad reputation for reliability that's never been on a track without doing any sort of upgrades for cooling to the track, sometimes bad things can happen. I'm glad I remembered to put my access port on the dash before coming, because otherwise I wouldn't be able to watch coolant temps, because there's no temperature gauge in this car. What the hell, Mazda? Now, to answer the question of if this can be a good seat time car, well, obviously a seat time car needs to last for more than half of a track day. So no, it doesn't make a good seat time car, but I think it can. With the correct cooling upgrades, I think that I could hot lap this a lot more, because everything else seemed to work fine. the suspension and brake upgrades that I did felt great. The rear sway bar made it like not pushy at all, and the brakes felt awesome. So I think I'll hang on to the car for a little bit. I'm gonna do those upgrades and make it better suited for an environment like this. And when my project car is project carring, I'll be driving this. I wasn't really ever planning on buying this car in the first place, but it's just like my car blew up and then my wife wanted a new car, understandably so, so this just fell into my lap and I wasn't gonna say no. And I wanted something that I could take to the track without really having to worry when driving. And it would be nice to just have one track day without an issue. Today was not one of those days, but I'm getting closer. I should have just chosen a Honda or Toyota instead of this, but this fell into my lap. It's been in the family, so I'm hanging on to it for a little bit. I have much less sentimental value attached to this, but it's here. Some people seem to like this car. I have noticed when I'm at an event like this or just anywhere, everybody seems to have some sort of appreciation for this car. Like they had a friend that had one, and it's like, this isn't even a classic, but it does seem like something that everybody has some sort of relation to, which I think is cool. But most people who talk about it said they had one and it blew up, but it's kind of similar to Audi A4s, so yeah. So anyway, thank you guys for watching. Let me know what you think about this. I know it's a little bit different from the typical Audi content that I do, but maybe that's a good thing, and maybe you enjoyed some variety. I know for my sanity, it's nice to not have an Audi, although this maybe wasn't the best alternative. I'll see you in the next one.